Hey folks, so there's been quite a lot happening regarding Daddygate recently, with all the comments that are coming out about it from different people that Sean Attwood wouldn't dare to call trolls. There's no way Sean's going to call Darren G a troll, there's no way he's going to call Billy Moore a troll, and there's no way he's going to call James English a troll. Not using his real name anyway, that's for sure. But with all this new information, it's been quite easy to get swept away a little bit. So putting all this new stuff aside, I just wanted to go over something. I meant to make a video on this a wee while ago, but one thing that's been on my mind for a long time is the old video on Sonia and Sean's BrandNewTube channel, which is the Sean Attwood apology video. That actually became known as the Prince Attwood video, which was a name that Andrew Gine came out with. And it was called the Prince Attwood video due to Sean Attwood's bizarre statements and demeanour throughout, and his attempts to cover up and justify what he did with crazy excuses, just like Prince Andrew's BBC interview. It was one of those things that made me wonder if we're actually living in a simulation, because it just mimicked so strongly the thing that Sean Attwood himself had been bent over double laughing at for months, the very same thing, and then he suddenly just replicated it. It was quite fascinating.
I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War.
That if you see the fire in Cali's eyes, she has channeled that in the past into paedophile hunting. She didn't want people to know this. She didn't want people to know because it would blow her cover. She's actually put paedophiles in prison. She wanted to be a frontline troop in this war on paedophiles.
The clip there, I think, highlights nicely the similarities between the kind of tripe that we were hearing on the Prince Andrew interview and the Prince Attwood interview. You may well recall seeing that part of Sean Attwood's performance at the time, but you may not know that it's actually not available to see on the BrandNewTube version of the apology video. Now, many of us are probably well aware that when you go to that video on BrandNewTube, the first 11 minutes of sound are missing and the audio is totally mismatched throughout, completely out of sync to the picture. If you were following this total PR disaster from the start, you may remember that this apology interview video first appeared on Sean Attwood's YouTube channel before disappearing and being re-uploaded with the comments disabled. This was done after the frantic attempts to delete the negative comments failed. There was a tidal wave of negative comments on it and they just couldn't delete them fast enough, so Sean Attwood decided to simply remove the video and then re-upload it with the comments disabled. That was a really bad move, by the way, because it was a severe hit to his credibility and it did cement the fact that a cover-up was taking place in many people's eyes. It went from people assuming that a cover-up was taking place to it being clear that a cover-up was taking place. So Sean Attwood should not have done that. But then sometime later, the video quietly disappeared altogether from Sean Attwood's YouTube channel, and it was basically thought to be lost to time. I certainly believed that it was scrubbed off the net, and the only version that we've been able to see is the one on BrandNewTube with the totally messed up audio.
My thought process about this is I have launched this war against paedophiles and campaigning to the end of the war on drugs. And by going from my normal mellow yoga meditation self, I have self-sabotaged and been counterproductive to the cause.
These audio issues led to a lot of speculation that the video had been amended on purpose to either change the audio altogether, such as inserting new audio, or to prevent clipping, which is exactly what it actually does. You can't get a decent clip from the BrandNewTube version at all because of the mismatched audio. And it also, of course, made me wonder what was in those first 11 minutes. Well, thanks to a commenter, and I really do appreciate it, I actually managed to get my fat little fists on the original footage, which doesn't have the first 11 minutes of audio missing. So thank you very much. This time it actually was Chili Boy that drew my attention to this, and you can go down and check his channel, I'll link it below. where you'll see the full video. This is the full video that appeared on BrandNewTube. Now, there's still a couple of minutes missing from the start, but when comparing it to the BrandNewTube version, it seems to be just Sonia and Sean setting up for those couple of minutes. They're basically moving seats and getting water, getting into position and stuff, so it doesn't seem to be much of an issue that those first couple of minutes are still missing. But in relation to those first several minutes of missing audio, it was great to go in and have a look and see what was actually missing, because I couldn't quite remember from initially seeing it back when it originally dropped what was missing. I mean, obviously we're not going to see something insane like Sean Attwood fully admitting to taking advantage of a trafficked vulnerable woman, making her relive the abuse she suffered as a child and likely traumatising her again, are we?
I took advantage of a trafficked vulnerable person reenacting this, and it made them relive it, and it probably traumatized that person. I completely agree with that. Shouldn't have done it, and they are 100% right about that.
Okay, so they didn't add the music, but I couldn't resist. Feel free to clip that to your heart's content. Just to be fair, I'm going to put the full context in here. This comes obviously under fair use 100% and fair dealing in the UK if you really want to try and find a loophole. I am presenting this in the interests of context, definitely criticism, and I am discussing it and I'm presenting it to the public in the interests of reporting an event, and I will defend any spurious takedown claims that come my way. The music I used also falls under fair use, so don't even try it. But here's the full context of the clip that I just showed you.
I'm not making excuses for what I did in my role in this, but perhaps it will be a mitigating circumstances from the perspective of the people who have said that I took advantage of a trafficked vulnerable person reenacting this, and it made them relive it, and it probably traumatized that person. I completely agree with that. Shouldn't have done it, and they are 100% right about that. So the mitigating circumstance is...
So yep, there we have it. That is Sean Attwood quite flippantly admitting that people are totally 100% correct when they say that he took advantage of a trafficked vulnerable woman and made her relive her abuse and re-traumatised her all over again. He's admitting that it was a recreation of the sexual abuse that this person had suffered as a child, and that it's likely to traumatise her again, having to reenact it at his request. So he is admitting it, and he's very flippant, as I say, when he does so. He says, yep, totally agree, shouldn't have done it, let's move on to the next thing. Not quite grasping the seriousness of things there, are you, Sean? It's depraved. You are coming across as a depraved degenerate, and the fact that you're a 50-something-year-old man taking part in this is extremely off, to say the least. When people are in their 50s, their character has well and truly solidified, so this is just concerning. So now that we know this, we need to find out who changed the clip. Why did it go from being perfectly fine on Sean Attwood's YouTube channel to having the first 11 minutes missing on Sonia and Sean's BrandNewTube channel? We need to find out which one of these self-proclaimed truth seekers and fighters in the war on paedophiles deliberately cut that clip out, because one of them did. It was either Sonia Poulton, or it was Sean Attwood, or it was BrandNewTube, or it was a result of a discussion between all three parties, which would be a conspiracy. I want to know who uploaded that to BrandNewTube and what happened that resulted in the audio being lost, because there's no way that people are going to believe that this highly damaging and easily clipped piece of audio somehow just didn't make it into the BrandNewTube version by accident. And it's not an oversight, because whoever uploaded it mentioned the missing audio in the title of the video. And obviously, if I can get my hands on the initial footage with the full audio, it's not like the file was missing. So why would the uploader not have just, when they noticed the audio was missing, why would they not have just deleted that corrupted version and re-uploaded the correct, proper footage? to just write first 11 minutes of audio missing on your video title on a free speech platform when it comes to something as serious as this is shoddy. It displays contempt for the audience of BrandNewTube, treating people like absolute mugs. And I suspect that's exactly what Sonia and Sean think of their audience. I really do think that Sonia Poulton and Sean Attwood think their audience are complete mugs. I do believe that there's going to be a Raw report with Sonia and Mohammed from BrandNewTube, and they did say that they'll be discussing Sean Attwood. I've got no idea what they're going to say, but I'm very interested in hearing it. Whether they actually see this video that I've just made is another story altogether. However, I would certainly like to know if it was Sean Attwood himself that made the audio disappear. I would like that to be addressed in Sonia and Mohammed's conversation, because nobody's going to believe that it was left out in error. And it's out now, so it may as well be addressed. There is a lot more interesting stuff as well in the missing audio. We've got Sonia making a long and laboured point of calling Andrew Guine a man, even though gender is not relevant whatsoever to the topic. I know Sonia is quite outspoken on the topic of gender, but it was not relevant in any way whatsoever to this case, and that was basically her opener to the interview.
And if people are concerned why I'm referring to this person as a man when everybody else has been referring to this person as a woman, it's because this man is transsexual and uses a female name. But seeing as he likes facts, so do I. He's an adult human male, and I will refer to him as such.
That just damaged Sonia's credibility, in my opinion. It showed that she wasn't being impartial, and by attacking the person that exposed Sean Attwood, she showed her cards right away that she was just engaging in damage control for Sean, nothing more than that. But that's not really what this video is about. I just wanted to include that for the purposes of record keeping, I suppose you could say. In the missing audio, we've also got Sean saying that he snapped, and we all know my feelings on that. Nobody snaps and dresses a prostitute as a child, getting her on her knees for a video that you then sit on and leak months down the line. That's not snapping. That does not make any sense. And he does also, I think, mention snapping in the main part of the audio anyway, so it doesn't look as if that was something they were really bothered about trying to cover up. Seems like a main part of his excuse, to be honest. So yeah, there was quite a lot of interesting stuff in those few missing minutes, but I thought what I covered today with the confession specifically, it was the most relevant. So there we have it, folks. I hope you found that interesting. If you have, please like the video and subscribe if you're not already. As like I say, we're trying to keep the momentum going here. I'm not going to let the story sink to the bottom anytime soon. I know some people are wanting me to leave it alone now, but certainly most of us are still on the side that we want the truth about this situation to be known, and for a record of it to be on file, so it can't be made to go away. On that note as well, I want to address one thing briefly. Some people have been saying that reporting Darren G's comments is either beneath me, in their opinion, or unhelpful to the situation, and I'd like to respectfully disagree with that. I think Darren's comments were made so forcefully and publicly that they are completely in line with other comments that have been made about Sean Attwood by various other public figures, so it's totally prudent to report those comments. It might also spur other people on to have the confidence to come forward if they've got anything to add regarding it. And depending what the future holds, it may be that all this information is essential to have on the record, and I can only thank the person who recorded Darren G's comments in the first place, which was the Fuse UK, that's the channel name. I got that name mixed up in my last video, so apologies for that. But thank you very much for recording those comments, and as I say, I feel it's completely prudent to report on them. And also, just before I go, I have linked Chili Boy's channel down below where you can find the full apology video with the full correct audio. I think it'd be nice if you went and had a look. If there's an awful lot of detectives I know in the audience, people that are very good at finding information, you should go and have a look at the two videos side by side. The one on Chili Boy's channel, the raw footage basically, and the one on BrandNewTube's channel. Have a look before one or both of those disappear, which I suspect is what may well happen. And just see if there's anything else missing. I had a look myself. I actually spent quite a long time matching them both up and checking where the gaps are and things. And there are things missing during the main video, but they didn't seem to be of too much consequence. So check that out and let us know your findings. But that's pretty much it for me today, folks. Thank you for watching my video. I do appreciate you all. Please have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.